There is a growing problem in the polar bear capital of the world. A polar bear invasion is overrunning a small town very far north in Canada because there isn't enough ice in their natural habitat. NBC News Chief Environmental Affairs correspondent Ann Thompson went there, and she joins us now. Ann, what did you find out?
Mika, it was absolutely fascinating. We went back to the town of Churchill in Manitoba to see what had changed in a decade for the people and the polar bears who both live there. In the fall, it remains an uneasy existence. And then, as now, climate change is the root cause why bears and people come into contact.
Polar bears draw tourists to tiny Churchill, Canada. Here, where the forest stops and the tundra starts, they come to see the bears make their annual trek back to Hudson Bay's sea ice to feed on seals.
Want to know how close you can get? Take a look. We're about 12 feet from this polar bear.
Fine from a protected buggy, but dangerous.
Little bear! Help! Little bear!
When hungry bears come to town. And when they are spotted, Conservation Sergeant Ian Van Nest gets the call.
And we're going to be there in about 1 minute.
His polar bear alert team on this day tracking bears at 5 a.m. in the town of 900 people.
Judging by the size of the tracks, that's a sub-adult.
One of the bears was spotted near our hotel. It was a juvenile. The warning shots woke us up. When they find one of the bears,
We'll haze them to the west.
they fire shotgun blanks in the air to scare it away.
It's all about trying to steer that bear in the right direction.
By afternoon, it's a day to remember.
There's been 6 that have tried to walk in the town today.
6?
Yes.
Is that an unusually high number? Is that the most in one day?
Today's set the record for this season.
Government officials say this year they're seeing more than twice as many bears in town compared to 2022. On the tundra where the bears belong, Polar Bear International's Jeff York says the lack of sea ice due to climate change is the problem.
The longer these bears are on shore, the more likely they're going to start looking for alternative sources of nutrition. That could be communities, it could be human food, it can also be other bears.
How hungry are these bears?
These bears have been generally fasting for 5 months.
An issue we first saw in 2013.
As a result, polar bears like this mother and cub that you see behind me, they now must spend an extra month on land. 10 years later, the risk is even greater. Researchers say the polar bear population here in western Hudson Bay has declined 27% in the last 5 years. The bears are smaller, and this year the sea ice is taking even longer to form.
Inside the tundra buggy, York shows us what's happening.
And you can see in Hudson Bay, there's really no ice at all.
If this was normal, how much of Hudson Bay should be frozen?
Historically, by now, we'd see ice coming well down into Fox Basin, and we'd see ice forming around the shelf, especially down here in the corner around Churchill.
Increasingly putting Churchill in danger. Next year, York hopes to add something called BearDAR.
Status alert.
To detect threatening bears.
So, Jeff, what is this?
This is the tower. This is the BearDAR.
This is it.
But Churchill Mayor Mike Spence is just as worried about that other threat, the changing climate.
How much do you worry that one day Churchill will no longer be the polar bear capital of the world?
Well, I mean, yeah, you think of it at times, naturally. You know, we're pretty proud of the fact that this community is pretty special, that there's no other place like it. So we do our part to make sure that we can continue to coexist.
A town doing its part, hoping the rest of the world does the same.
Now, the Polar Bear Alert Team in Churchill is doing a truly amazing job. It has been 10 years since a bear mauled a human being, and it's been 40 years since there was a killing. But the longer the ice takes to form, the higher the risk. And this year, the bears were off the ice 164 days. That's more than 5 months. It's the 5th longest time since 1979, Mika.
Absolutely incredible. NBC's Ann Thompson. Ann, thank you so much for that report.